test for COVID-19. The FDA has just authorized the first COVID-19 breath test. If you're like us here at Health Shadow and have been looking for a new way to protect your lungs, look no further than this revolutionary new device called COVID-19 breath test. It's different from anything else on the market because it detects bacteria in your mouth that causes various infections and health conditions. Health Shadow will break down everything you need to know about this groundbreaking invention, so stay tuned. Start off by subscribing to our channel. Hit the subscribe and tiny bell for updates whenever we have something for you. Leave a comment and a thumbs up if you find this really helpful for you and your friends. You've undoubtedly braved the torture of swabbing your nose a few times to test for COVID-19 at this point, more than 2 years into the pandemic. Although testing has progressed significantly since 2020, a new milestone has been reached. The Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, has just approved the use of the first COVID-19 breath test, known as the IR COVID-19 BREATHALYZER. Breath testing is a non-invasive method for doctors to identify a variety of diseases. We can quantify the amount of particular gases in your breath by analyzing it, allowing doctors to make rapid and precise diagnosis. As your BAC rises, you may become awkward and react slowly. You too may make poor decisions. Driving becomes unsafe as a result of these factors. With the exception of one state, it is prohibited for a motorist over the age of 21 to have a blood alcohol concentration, or BAC, of more than 0.08%. Utah's BAC threshold will be 0.05% as of December 2018. For drivers under the age of 21, all states have zero tolerance regulations. Local authorities may accuse you of driving under the influence, or DUI, if you are speeding, in an accident, or leaving on the road. They can use a breathalyzer to test your BAC at the site of an accident or on the side of the road if you're pulled over. If you're a fan of Korean drama, you're very familiar with how this device can be used at such a moment. But we're now in a new chapter, a new phase of technology. Now listen carefully, because this may welcome you at any place in the world anytime soon. IR promotes the test as less intrusive and speedier than PCR or even rapid antigen testing, potentially making it helpful in public areas such as workplaces, restaurants, and airports. The COVID-19 epidemic continues to be a big shock for economies and healthcare systems throughout the world, and it represents a true game changer for healthcare investment. This is a problem for economies since global income might be $7 trillion lower by the end of 2021 than the OECD predicted in November 2019. Despite the European Union's ongoing attempts to mitigate the harmful consequences of the pandemic crisis, the COVID-19 health expenses have accounted for about a fifth of the OECD public spending. The biotech and pharmaceutical companies are more focused than ever on overcoming this pandemic crisis. Some corporations, such as Merck, were estimated to lose up to $2 million as a result of the lockout in 2020. According to the coronavirus vaccine tracker, there are more than 60 COVID-19 vaccine candidates in clinical trials. 37 are in phase 1, 27 are in phase 2, 20 are in phase 3, and 6 are authorized for limited use in certain countries. 4 are also licensed for universal use. The permitted vaccinations in the EU and US include the Pfizer-BioNTech Comirnaty vaccine and the COVID-19 vaccine Moderna. Moreover, an AstraZeneca vaccine has just been authorized across the EU. Furthermore, several sophisticated and promising candidate vaccines are being produced across the world using various technological techniques and by pharmaceutical or biotechnology businesses. The vaccine's need and urgency are compelling countries to spend enormous sums of money to obtain doses and establish clinical studies and manufacturing techniques. A good example is the U.S. government's funding of the North American biotechnology business Novavax for the development of its coronavirus vaccine. With that, the Inspect IR COVID-19 breathalyzer, which is roughly the size of a piece of carry-on baggage, may be utilized in medical offices and mobile testing locations, according to the FDA. It may produce findings in just 3 minutes. To detect 5 molecules linked with SARS-CoV-2 illness, the method separates and detects chemical combinations. According to one research, the Inspect IR breathalyzer correctly identified more than 91% of positive samples and nearly 100% of negative samples. Another study that focused on the Omicron coronavirus subtype discovered similar sensitivity. A positive result, however, should be validated with a PCR test according to the FDA. It's another tool, and the FDA release says it's quite accurate and user-friendly, said Dr. Emily Volk, president of the College of American Pathologists and a board-certified anatomic and clinical pathologist, on Friday. What is the efficacy of the COVID-19 breath test? The effectiveness of the novel machine was investigated in a study of 2,409 people, both with and without symptoms. The breathalyzer was found to have a 91.2% sensitivity, the percentage of positive samples accurately recognized by the test, and a 99.3% specificity, the percent of negative samples the test correctly identified. The study also showed promising results in preventing false negative tests. In a population with only 4.2% of individuals positive for the virus, it had a negative predictive value of 99.6%, indicating that those who tested negative were most likely truly negative in areas with low disease prevalence. A follow-up research that looked at the Omicron version yielded similar overall results. But how does it work? Before we head on to that, don't forget to subscribe, hit the tiny bell, and leave us a comment. Let us know what you want to see from us here at Health Shadow. Inspect IR provided a video presentation of the non-invasive breath testing technique. Patients blow through a single-use hygienic straw with a quantity of air required to inflate a tiny balloon, and the findings are shown on the small touch screen. Because the breath particles are heated and ionized after each usage, the gadget keeps no biological materials. In comparison, a PCR test at a testing facility takes 2 to 3 days. A quick PCR test takes around an hour, and a rapid antigen test takes 15 to 30 minutes. Although the breathalyzer is portable, the test must still be conducted by a qualified technician, making it more appropriate for hospitals, doctors' offices, and larger public areas than for residences or small enterprises. When it comes to workers returning to the office, Inspect IR has described its breath test as a superior screening approach than monitoring a person's temperature. In addition, the business claims that other forms of COVID diagnostic tests are painful and pricey when performed on a daily basis. According to the FDA news release, the gadget employs a technology known as gas chromatography mass spectrometry, or GCMS, used to separate and identify chemical combinations as well as swiftly detect 5 volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, linked with SARS-CoV-2 infection in exhaled breath. When the VOC markers of the virus that causes COVID-19 are detected by the Inspect IR COVID-19 breathalyzer, a presumptive or unconfirmed positive test result is returned and should be proved with a molecular test like a PCR test. Negative findings, according to officials, should be reviewed in the context of a patient's recent exposures, as well as history and symptoms associated with coronavirus infection, since they do not rule out infection and should not be used as the only reason for treatment or choices. According to the FDA, Inspect IR aims to build roughly 100 devices every week, each of which can examine approximately 160 samples per day. This amount of production will boost testing capacity by about 64,000 samples per month. SPEEDIER became the first breathalyzer certified to test for COVID in the real world in February 2021. It was used to check employees at the Eurovision Song Contest in Rotterdam last year. Only Inspect IR has gotten FDA clearance for usage in the United States to date. However, other businesses, including Singapore's Breathonics, the United Kingdom's Alstom Medical, Indonesia's Geno C19, and Israel's Centech Medical, have been working on breath testing. What we want is to eliminate as many people as possible who may be contaminated with the coronavirus, said Rianne de Vries, Chief Operating Officer of Breathonics, the Dutch firm that develops SPEEDIER in May, to lower the testing burden and boost the desire to test. Technology will definitely help the world get back on track. The world, the economy, the people, our planet. With little steps at a time, we may be able to survive the virus and all the pandemics yet to come to our planet and its people. Even with all that on the table, it's important to stay healthy, as well as fit and have a healthy lifestyle. So check out more healthy tips and tricks and inspirations from our channel, only here at Health Shadow. Summing up our video for today, don't forget to hit subscribe and the tiny bell for updates. We'll catch you again next time. Stay healthy.